Welcome to the Sherpa Chalet on Mount Podcastia, where it's time for podcast picks with Jim the Podcast Sherpa. You'll get to hear about podcast recommendations for your podcast playlist, along with occasional interviews with other podcasters and video hosts. Now waiting for you is your host, Jim the Podcast Sherpa. He's just like you imagined. But don't worry, we'll make it up to you somehow.
It's a listen to this episode of Podcast Picks with Jim, the Podcast Sherpa. This week, we're featuring an interview with Darran Bruce, along with an episode of his podcast, The DJ Sessions. We thought the Sherpa understood all of the terms associated with DJing. Unfortunately, some of us are still having nightmares over when he demonstrated what he thought scratching was.
Welcome to the Sherpa's Podcast Picks. It's the podcast about, podcasts. And now, coming to you from Mount Podcastia, here's your host who wonders what's on your podcast playlist, Jim the Podcast Sherpa.
Hello there, Rebels of the Sherpalution, and welcome to Podcast Picks with me, Jim the Podcast Sherpa, coming to you from Sherpaloo Studios here in the Sherpa Chalet, high atop Mount Podcastia, where I overlook the millions and millions of podcasts that are out there. Thank you so much for joining me. You know, it's interesting. On Saturdays, I do something called Sherpa Selects, where I feature a lot of the interviews with podcasters from the first 7 seasons of the show. We've got 14 already. Wow. You may have noticed if you are listening, you're listening, right? Yes. Just nod your head and say yes. Yes, Sherpa. Yes. Okay. You may have noticed if you are listening, which of course you are, that with a lot of these podcasts that I've featured, they're not around anymore. I know COVID was a big time for people to do podcasts because people were in their homes and they said, well, here's an opportunity to do something. So they did. And a lot of them kind of got tired of it, or, you know, they felt maybe that they said what they had to say. Whatever the case may be, I respect that. Meanwhile, I'm still doing it. So is my guest. His name is Darran Bruce. He hosts a podcast called The DJ Sessions, and he features interviews with DJs from all around the world. He's interviewed over 1,000 DJs who are into electronic dance music and all the other good stuff that you might hear out in the club. Do they still say the club anymore? I don't know. It's been a long time for me. But Darran was nice enough to have me on his show. I don't know why. He felt sorry for me, I guess. But I wanted to return the favor and not only that, have a little conversation with him. And this is a listen to this episode. Ta-da! We haven't done one of these in a while. And I'm going to feature Darran's podcast, The DJ Sessions, right after our interview. So if you like EDM and fascinating interviews with DJs, I'm sure you're going to want to stick around and hear this. But first, let's have a conversation with Darran Bruce of The DJ Sessions. Hello there, Rebels. We are here in the DJ room at the Sherpa Chalet. My guest first came on this show when it was aired in November of 2020. He's back. It's taken him a little while, but we found him again. He was hiding from me all these years, I think. His name is Darran Bruce. He is the host and creator of The DJ Sessions, and it is a show that features interviews with DJs of electronic dance music. I won't say EDM because I know you don't like that. And Darran is here, and I just actually got off of doing an interview with his show, and we are continuing the magic and bringing him right here. So now he can just go, oh my God, what did I do? Darran, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on the show today, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here again after all these years. I can't believe, gosh, that's almost 4.5 years since we last talked.
I know. A lot has changed. Now, I'm thinking you said you were kind of taking a little break from the show and you were doing outreaches and being a guest on shows, but that was actually around COVID. What happened with like electronic dance music and COVID? I mean, and how did it really pick up steam again?
It exploded in a way that I was trying to be at the forefront of. And I'm glad that it did, because it actually made me kind of change a little bit of the direction of with my show to be different again from everyone else. Mm-hmm. Kind of like being a first mover of forefront person. I'm the guy that was doing live streaming DJ shows 10 years before people really started thinking about using it as a medium. Typical electronic music culture is you go and you partake of it either in your headsets that you're listening to songs, or you go to a nightclub. Even though radio has been around for years, we've been listening to disc jockey on the radio for years. That was a medium. You listen to it. Well, I had the concept that came out of a series that I did called ITV, a broadcast television series. And in 2009 came up with the thought of putting DJs, streaming DJs live on like a radio show and interviewing them at the top of the show and interviewing them on the outs and putting it online, podcasting it and streaming it live. And that's how the DJ Sessions was born. And, I started getting a little bit more traction locally. I started inviting the local community that I knew on, and then I had an opportunity to invite a very big name. It's funny that the first interview I ever did with that big name DJ just popped up on my timeline when I released it a few years. Actually in 2009, it popped up as the anniversary of the show. Even though the show was done in like January, February or something in 2009, a winter music conference in Miami. It popped up as like, remember you posted about this episode on this day, and it was with Dave Dresden, very big name DJ. And he's gotten even bigger. He's big, still gotten bigger, but he got big in live streaming when I like to call it Pandy, by the way, when Pandy hit. And so that episode popped up popped up yesterday. I interviewed him early 2009, but then had him on the show late 2009. And that's when the concept of saying, now I should start getting these celebrity DJs when they come to town and get them on the show and do an interview in person. I was already doing that in the nightclubs, but get them in town to get them in my studio and have them play a set. And then lights just started going off. But I did it, but I really didn't take the show seriously. I mean, I was taking it seriously, but it wasn't until about 2013ish because it was still being done I had my broadcast television show called ITV, broadcast television. Then I had ITV Live, which was the live streaming arm of ITV.
Right.
And the DJ Sessions was one show under ITV Live. So it was always branded as ITV Live, the DJ Sessions, 2009 to 2013. And then in 13, I actually went and bought the domain name, the DJ Sessions, and got the first version 1 of the website up. Wow. That was, you can go to the Wayback Machine and see the progression of the DJ Sessions websites over the years from 2013, 2018 to 2021. Now we have what I call the Ferrari of the websites. It started out as a Hyundai and then went to like a Honda, Toyota Camry. And then it went to Ferrari, Lamborghini, and like, yeah, this is awesome. Like, almost everything that I've ever wanted. And it was, and more. And we're still developing it, ongoing. But, that being said, just the show kind of evolved in 2020 at Pandy, where I stopped doing DJs streaming because every DJ in the world, brand new DJs to celebrity DJs to the top industry event coordinators like Live Nation and Insomniac, everyone was live streaming because everyone was stuck at home and I couldn't get any DJ. I'm not a DJ.
Right.
Everyone always mistakes me and thinks that I'm a DJ and I'm not a DJ. So I didn't have a DJ show to do and I couldn't invite anyone over to my house because I'd be breaking COVID protocol, and didn't want to go through all that. So, I started realizing that people understood how to use Zoom. And I said, well, gosh, I could start doing Zoom interviews with these DJs. They're not coming here. And not only am I not getting them for 10 minutes on the red carpet or behind the scenes at the nightclubs, I can get them for an hour and really get in-depth questions with them and really get some time with them. And these are DJs that I could get them if they're in Germany. They're in Tokyo. They're in Mexico City. They're around the world. If they're not even planning a tour to come to Seattle, I would have never talked to these producers. Now, once I started building on that, and having a long history of doing what we're doing, knocking on doors, it got us into a lot of doors of keeping the podcast going and keeping the things going to where, making friends in the right places, connections in the right places, and having the credibility that they know we're producing a good product that's coming out all the time. And the amount of content that we're producing. I mean, in 2021, when I changed over, got the new website, we came into 2022 and I said to my virtual assistant I was working with at the time, I said, hey, we were sending out only 40 emails a week to request people to be on the show. I was getting out of 160 emails a month, I would get probably 8, maybe 10 interviews a month, a couple exclusive mixes. We were doing some of our own content as well with our mobile sessions, our silent disco sessions, rooftop sessions, things like that. But I came to him in like April of 2022 and I said, hey, got a new plan. We're going to ramp it up and we're going to see what happens when we send 300 to 350 emails a week. And I went, what's going to happen? It's the numbers game,
Right.
And all of a sudden in like May, I had like 47 interviews. And this is when I was only booking interviews. I've opened up my schedule between like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Wednesday. Had a mistake. And I didn't put any buffers on it in Calendly. So I put this invite out there over and over again. And I mean, I literally wasn't eating lunch, wouldn't have downtime between interviews. I think I might have put like 30-minute buffers between the interviews, but I wouldn't have time for research and all this stuff. Some days I was doing 5-6 interviews.
Wow. Darren is drinking from like one of the largest jugs of water of everything.
It's only 64
you can
ounces.
flood the town with that.
No, I read it the other day. My friend is kind of on this water drinking thing right now. I mentioned about her in the other show. And she's like, I drank 157 ounces of water today. And I'm like, this would be 128 ounces of 2 of these. And I'm like, geez, it looks big. It's a thermos container. So, I mean, there's a good, half-inch perimeter around that. But it is a motto. Yes, you can. It is the yes, you can. But, started sending out. We saw a great response. And at the time, I had a PR person on from the UK that knew a lot of labels, a lot of industry people, had been in the industry for years. And we're really blown up in 2022. Then I had to scale back operations because I made an investment to another business that I own that kind of didn't move like I wanted it to. It was, but this is why I tell everyone, if you ever go on business with somebody, make sure you own the company 51%, which I always do. And so that kind of grinded everything to a halt on a couple different fronts and kind of just gummed up the works for a minute. So, in 2023, I came back from Germany, a major festival in Germany, 2024, sorry, major festival in Germany. And it was so big. I mean, this is 350,000 people called Rave the Planet. And I was on a double-decker semi-truck, double-decker bed on the back of a semi-truck. They had 25 of these things driving around with nightclub sound systems on them. 350,000 people in Berlin, right by the Brandenburg Gate and this major circle area. And these trucks just drive around for 8 hours a day playing music. It's awesome. I've never been to anything like this in the world. I came back from that. The next weekend was my 50th birthday. And I kind of sat back and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing with this series? Company down there, I'm now embroiled in the lawsuit with it, which I'm going to win. I'm not worried about that. If I could say that. I'm not giving away any secrets. But long story short, I'm not worried about it. But I just had to go through kind of a soul searching it wasn't a burnout. It was just like, where do I go from here? I was number 1 on Twitch in the world for almost 8 hours. Hundreds of viewers. Like, it's like, okay, like, where do I go from here? And I had to do a little priority shifting and realize, I was looking for big sponsors for my show. We're not talking nickels and dimes. We're talking, and even this would still be nickels and dimes. So I was looking for sponsorship ranges between 75 to 150K. I wanted 5 to 10 sponsors. I was looking for millions of dollars, for the show. And but the importance of doing a DJ show after pandemic when everybody else was jumping all in doing, because it kind of, could I have gone for it? Yes. But the funny thing was I always had what I call the cash machine on wheels already in my backyard. I should have been possibly focusing on that. But what I was doing is I was focusing on my business operations in the same business realm of that other aspect of business, which took up a lot of my time and had to sacrifice these entities. So coming back after that, coming back into 2025, about May of 2025, I jumped out of it, said, get back in the hot seat. Let's go. And just shifting just minor priorities. Like, here's the line. And it's like, here's this line of DJ sessions. Here's the other company. It's like, it wasn't a huge paradigm shift. Now things are going so much better. I'm knocking on doors. I'm doing interviews with you. I'm doing interviews with more people. Just got an interview with a well-known artist as well. It just hit me up while we were in our interview or coming out of our interview. Super excited to get the ball back up and running and getting more episodes out there. My goal is to hopefully be up to our 60 hours of content by September this year. And by the end of the year, be at 100 hours of content a month. And bringing on other people to do interviews around the world. My goal is to make the DJ sessions a place where you come to daily and you're getting daily news stories, daily interviews, daily exclusive mixes, all done in real time. It's not, not knocking any other source or any other competitor out there, but you're getting real world interviews from people through all aspects of the electronic music industry. And we aren't really just limited to the electronic music industry because DJing also exists in, you could have a polka DJ, you could have a hip hop DJ, you could have, different types of DJs. It isn't just, electronic music. So, But we really branched out. That was another thing that changed the format of the show too in 2020, going into 2021 is I opened the door to working with all electronic music industry professionals. So now this goes into the label owners, the record labels, goes into, management. It goes into PR people. It goes into the lighting designers, audio engineers. If you're in the industry in any way, shape or form, we want you on the show, talking about your experience. Cause a lot of people, these are the unsung heroes that are doing all the back end paper pushing deals and shaking hands stuff, and so, a lot of people don't get that insight a lot from those people. And that there's definitely gems in there I think people should know about. And then we archive it as a podcast on the back end. You can go back and watch all of our past 2,600 episodes, on all the different platforms. Choose your flavor, whoever you like. We're out there. Or just go to our website, thedjsessions.com. We prefer that because then Google helps us out, So, yeah, that's kind of the nutball of our show in a nutshell.
When we were talking on your show, we really kind of got into a discussion about what constitutes entertainment, and that really changes and expands as the years go by. And as someone who's interviewed a lot of very well-known DJs, what do you think it is that makes them stand out from a lot of other club DJs?
One more time?
Sure. What is it that you feel that makes some of the DJs that you interviewed stand out from other club DJs that gets them that recognition? Because they don't really get recognized like rock artists. They kind of have their own little lane, I think.
It's funny you bring that up. That's a great question because one question that I have that I sometimes ask DJs is when DJing first started, really the DJ was kind of off in the corner,
right
in the back, up in a booth. You didn't see the DJ and you were out on the dance floor dancing. And then over time, they started getting more and more stage presence, more people looking at the DJ, more theatrics, more center stage attention. And, now you have superstar DJs. You have DJs that are playing at the Olympics. You have DJs that are playing in the football, soccer matches. It's a very huge electronic dance music. I mean, the term, we look at nightclub in the United States and we go to nightclubs, but pretty much everywhere around the world, they're called discotheques. They're nightclubs, but electronic music that's the nice thing about it is kind of universal in the sense that there may be lyrics to some of the songs, but if most of them are just instrumental tracks,
right?
And there's not a connotation of lyrics necessarily put into the track. So I hear the same song that somebody in Brazil hears, or somebody in Germany hears, or somebody in Tokyo hears. We're all hearing the same song. And we can be like, I like that rise. I like that drop. I like that when this happens. And we're all can say that in the same language. Whereas if you have, say, a pop song from America, the lyrics might not translate too well into Japanese. Or if they cover it in Japanese, it doesn't sound the same. You hear the beat,
exactly.
But it doesn't translate well because the lyrics are there. So you see a much more universal appeal with electronic music. But, should DJs be looked at as rock stars, or should they, this is the kind of question, should they be looked at as rock stars, or should they just be part of the background of the element and let the room speak for itself? A lot of old school DJs go, yeah, I remember that. I remember I was over in the corner mixing the music, but nobody really paid attention to it. It was just a great night. Or, they were over there, but now it's like this, I'm a DJ. And And that's how it's gone. There's there was something I was going to go with on that, but some DJs like intimate club experience. Some DJs say, I don't like that big festival experience and playing in front of 100,000 people because I lose connection with the crowd. Or I like doing nice intimate clubs with 300, 400, 500 people, and yeah, they're not making the $10,000, $15,000 per show or $20,000 per show, but they're playing to the audience they like because they can connect with that audience, and that's big. I have a well-known DJ I love. Oh, you know what? I think that's the episode I'm going to send you. I'm going to send you an episode. Can I give a hint to who I'm going to give you? Or
absolutely.
I think I'm going to send you Dr. Fresh.
Okay.
I love Dr. Fresh. Not that other DJs can't do what he does. Just such a positive energy. Really great guy. Good backstory to him. Awesome DJ. Awesome producer. But, he'll go play a nightclub here in our town. And maybe 350 people in the room. He'll do it in the round. But I'll see videos of him online on TikTok, and he's playing to 20, 30, 50,000 people. And he brings the same energy there that he brings to the smaller venues as well. I mean, the guy gets a workout when I get a workout just watching him do his shows. Very awesome DJ. So I'll send that Dr. Fresh episode of interviews. I've interviewed him a couple times on the show. And he's just a great guy. And, but yeah, I mean, it's, if you're a DJ and you're looking for that big stuff, I think we were just talking about in my past episode, entertainment is money. Money talks, BS walks. And there's a lot of great DJs out there, but what gets them up? I mean, I'll be the first to say it. Seattle isn't a market where you're going to be a DJ, get in the nightclub scene, because we don't have that many nightclubs here, and all of a sudden get picked up by somebody and go worldwide on tour. Very rare is that going to happen. And anyone that is in Seattle, if they are good, which there are tons of, that's why I started the DJ sessions. I wanted to show the world how much talent was here. And there was no distribution network for that necessarily, especially in video or live streaming, but to showcase and give them kind of an electronic press kit so people from around the world, or at least other cities, other states, could see them and go, oh, I really like that. I like their stage presence. They look really good. This person could hype a crowd if I brought them here. Problem is there's 100 great DJs, let's say in Seattle. You can go market like a DMA, how many people live in a certain area. You go to somewhere like just down south, 12-hour drive away, San Francisco, a 2.5-hour flight. Our population here is 1.5. Theirs is like 4 million. So there's 100 good DJs here. There's probably 400 great DJs in San Francisco. Probably more than that. I'd say there's probably decent amount of DJs, 1,000 DJs in the Seattle area. Let's just say that means there's 4,000 DJs in the greater San Francisco, Bay Area, and how did those ones make it? And how do they get in? I'll tell you, it's truly, you can't just be a DJ anymore. You have to be a DJ. You have to be a producer. You have to have your social media in place. You have a PR person. You got to get those write-ups. You have to have a crowd. You have to be marketable, and if you can't just say, hey, book me, I'll come play. This comes a lot like it's the age old, well, okay, the nightclub, I come and play. It's the nightclub's job to promote the show and get the people to come in there. Well, wait a second. If I'm booking you, shouldn't you be an act that people want to come see? I was talking with a DJ, one of my resident DJs a long time ago. And he goes, he had his eyes woken up when he moved to LA. They went to a bar to pitch this bar, his DJ gig, and say, I'd like to come DJ for you. And he goes, okay, tell me how many people you're going to bring to the door. He goes, I don't know. Isn't that your job? You're the club. You promote the night. I have the vision. I'll play the music. You bring the people in by promoting. He goes, you know what? Right now, the bar owner goes, you know what? Right now, these peanuts on the counter are more valuable than you coming and playing my club. So those peanuts, people are going to eat them and they're going to make them buy drinks. And I make money off selling drinks. You're going to get up there, you're going to play music, but you're not bringing anyone in the door. I'm spending the money on you, but you're not bringing anyone in. So these peanuts are more valuable than you are. And the guy's perceptive with, you're right. I got to go out there and hype and bring people and get a crowd and get people coming and get my following up. It isn't the club's responsibility to do that. And unfortunately, this is the truth. I don't know if people are saying it, but I don't fear saying stuff. I'll call it like it is. Go ahead, run me up the totem pole. But some of these DJs that are long in the tooth, that have been out there for a long time, especially in local markets, unfortunately, the club has built itself up. They think that they're the ones that are bringing the crowd to the club. When no, it's the club is an established venue. And if you took that particular DJ who thinks they're the one that everyone's coming to see out of there, that crowd's still coming through the door. Right. You could literally put on an AI DJ in that club and nobody would know. No one in there would know. And they don't care that you've been in the game for 30 years. They don't care that you're mixing the bad stuff. Because guess what? The barrier to entry is gone now. Anyone can go out and buy DJ gear. Anyone can go out and get the same tracks. It's not back in the day when you had a record that was pressed and somebody made, and let's say they came out of Detroit or they came out of Germany, they came out of the UK, or they came out of LA. They made 5,000 records and they shipped 3 records to only a certain amount of stores, so there was, if you found that record, you only had that one record. You're the only one that had that record. Now you put it on digitally and 100,000 people can download that same track. And 100,000 people can now have access to watch a YouTube video to learn how to do it. So the barrier entry is non-existent. 6-year-olds can do it now. So what makes you special as a DJ? Now, if you're producing, well, now there's ghost producing. You can pay somebody to make you your song and then put them out there under your name. Happens more often than you think. And a lot of people get paid doing this for a living too. Some big names that you might just know out there if you're in the electronic music world. That's how they pay the bills and eat. Yeah, it's you can buy your way into the game, basically. But that's kind of always how it's been with entertainment. You got a band, they can be a kick-ass band, but if they don't have money to get in a recording studio, how do they make an album? How do they make a radio playable song? How do they get in the music stores? How did the album pick them up? The album has to put money behind them. They got to go on tour. Well, the drama with bands over the past 50, 60, 70 years of this band member does this and this band member does this. And all of a sudden this person does this and now there's no band anymore and they disband. And then it's like, all right, cool. But I can go on and on with that. But anyways, yeah. So, DJs are looking like, I think they're here. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
So the DJ, be here.
We were talking earlier about what draws you to electronic dance music. And I liked your comment. I mean, the way that you basically came about saying that you were really into the history behind it, not so much this creativity, but you knew that there was something in its history that really appealed to you.
Well, I mean, it's starting as a young kid growing up in the 80s. I think I'm born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, getting that synth, that 80s synth crossing over. That was electronic music. Mm-hmm. Synthesizers, drum machines. Hip hop music started using drum machines. You had the early Art of Noise and those groups that were doing their back end thing. In the 90s, Kraftwerk, exactly. Yeah. And then in the 90s, I worked for a record store and you started having some more electronic music started making its way into the music store. There was a short little bin with electronic music. They didn't know where to put it. There was usually DJ mixes. Yeah. It wasn't full length artist albums because they were getting these albums and making their mixes off and putting them on CD. And then it started to grow. And then I went from hip hop and started getting a little bit more into trip hop, Massive Attack and Tricky and things like that. And then it kind of led me into downtempo ambient as my go-to listen by Soma FM. Groove Salad out of San Francisco. Always give them a shout out when I can. I've been listening to them for 23 years, but I liked to dance when I was a kid. I fell in love with it. It was something you could dance to, you could go to, have fun. Again, you can travel halfway around the world and listen to dance music, electronic music, and you don't need to speak a language. Everyone's there listening to the same thing, and there's no inflection of, what does this song mean to me? You're all being uplifted. You're all feeling that rise, that drop, that boom, 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 and you're all in that moment. Sure. I got to speak German. I got to speak French. I got to speak Swahili. I got to speak Spanish. We're all in that same musical moment, having that experience. I think that's where it makes it timeless and more a sense of togetherness in that.
I like that. It really helps people kind of understand too. Because sometimes people, I think, get dismissive of certain types of music, like, oh, that's not for me or anything like that. But, everything kind of reverts to some sort of history that maybe they can relate to.
And there are songs that definitely have struck a chord with me that I call my anthems. Mm-hmm. That I are go-tos. But I mean, there's so much. That's the problem with the barrier entry being almost gone is there's so much. I mean, even if you look at it from a podcasting or YouTube years ago, I mean, this is 8 years ago when I was in college again, going back just to brush up on stuff. My marketing business PR, I can't remember what class it was, but he goes, YouTube is tracking 1 million uploads every minute.
Wow.
1 million uploads a minute, videos. And you can only think about what that's like for the music industry. And so how do you cut through the clutter? You got to think you have independent artists, then you have labels, and you have the labels trying to submit, and you have everyone being able to, if they submit to a place, they get their stuff listed into like Beatport and Apple Music if they know they get it all up there. But that's great. You're submitted, but how are you getting in front of the right people to play it? And once you find out, once some person says, oh, like I just opened up a music section on our site. I'm cherry picking for now. I wondered when I was going to open up a label for our site, which is still in the background of opening up. And I started asking for music submissions. We're doing the content, the amount of viewership and listeners, and we're going out there. That'd be a full-time job in itself. Just going through this, sorting through those tracks and listening. Ooh, and again, am I trained enough? This happened to me with my first broadcast television show when I wanted to do the short film show that I told you about, Phantasmagoria. Yeah. When I got these film submissions, who am I to judge? Who am I to say? I'm not Siskel and Ebert over here. I don't have a degree in cinematography and, in the sense of film culture and nature and knowing all the ins and outs. So who am I to say what's a good one and what's a bad one? And I came down and made the call then that I would make a call now as an executive producer or owner of a company. Is that commercially viable or not? Somebody can put their heart and soul into it, but I don't feel that's going to sell or that's not going to go for the mission, what we're going. Somebody can send me a badass techno track, but if we're pushing house as our genre right now, sorry, I got to turn it down. Doesn't mean it isn't phenomenal. It's not what we're looking for, but another person can take that is that they're getting shut down. Well, why don't you start promoting techno tracks? Well, if I started taking every genre, go to Wikipedia and look up electronic music, you get the top genres, but then look at all the subgenres that have come out from underneath that. And you got people trying to do 5 different genres of songs in one, trying to fit it and say, I made something new. Yes, you did. But where do I classify that? Where do I put that? Where's the audience for that? You can't just put, this is just new electronic music. That's not a genre. New electronic music. It has to fit. Is it trance? Is it techno? Is it house? Is it glitch? Is it new wave? Is it new disco? Well, you can't bounce all over the spectrum with your songs either. Go take a music class. Yeah. Learn from some professionals. Hire some consultants. But anyways, I could go on and on about that. Like I said, I could talk if you want me to talk.
Okay. Well, actually, I have to wrap it up. So before we jump into your interview with Dr. Fresh,
yes.
Could you let everybody know where they can check out the DJ sessions?
Absolutely. TheDJSessions.com. That's the DJSessions.com. All of our socials are there. Past episodes, news stories, music store, our store for clothing to donate to the show. This isn't one of our shirts. This is a festival I helped out with, Cascadia. I'll give them props. Really cool event here in Washington. But all that and more at thedjsessions.com. All of our socials, thedjsessions.com. Tons of great stuff coming out there. Super excited. Drop a line. It'll come to me. I'll say hi. Maybe even put you on the show.
There you have it. Mr. Darran Bruce, thank you so much. The show is called The DJ Sessions, and we're going to be checking out his interview. Dr. Fresh, thanks again so much.
Good night.
Welcome back to the DJ Sessions, where we feature the best DJs, producers, and industry professionals from around the world. I'm your host, Darran, and right now we're standing in the back of the ITV. Wow, that was a blast from the past. The DJ Sessions mobile studio. ITV used to be our previous show that we used to do before it became the DJ Sessions. And we're standing here with none other than Dr. Fresh. How's it going, Doctor?
Darran, I'm doing great, man. It's fantastic to finally be here in the truck in Seattle.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember when I showed you it backstage at Decadence and your eyes just popped and you said, I want to get in that truck. And I said, yeah, we'll get you an interview in the truck. You're like, no, I want to play the truck. And I'm like, damn. And like, okay, when you come to Seattle, like, I can't tell you about, I got this tour. Don't talk about it. Don't tell anyone about it. And we're going to talk about the tour, the Ray's Anatomy tour. You're just kind of wrapping up, but it sounds like it's going to keep going a little bit longer, correct?
That's correct. We're wrapping up the North American portion, but we just announced last night that we're going to Australia and New Zealand, man. So
wow,
stoked. It's
yeah,
gonna be huge.
What part of Australia?
Man, so we're doing 6 shows. Going to be doing Sydney, Brisbane, Central Coast, Perth, and Auckland.
Wow,
I'm forgetting. Oh, excuse me. Electric Circus in Adelaide, one of my favorite clubs in the world. That's the tour.
Wow,
Yeah.
you know, it's a couple of my friends, good friends, just moved down to Melbourne, but she's from Perth.
Nice.
Which
Oh my
you
God.
look how far Perth is from Melbourne. It's like I think is Australia bigger in land size than the US?
You know, I think you're correct.
4.5 hours, 5-hour flight to get from one end to the other.
When I've done that flight, it's pretty exact to the East Coast, West Coast flight here. It is a massive continent, dude.
yeah,
you know?
it's huge.
It's
huge,
a wild,
huge, huge.
yeah.
So, you know, you're wrapping up the tour, continuing the tour a little bit longer, but tonight you're in Seattle. You're playing Q Nightclub. Now, I've been watching you and following you online on this tour. Is every club you're playing sold out? I mean, pretty much sold out.
I will say there are more sellouts on this tour than I've ever had. We've exceeded all expectations. We're selling out, you know, the majority of the venues at this point, and I'm grateful for that. Absolutely.
And this is your first tour in 4 years, correct?
First tour since 2019. Yep.
2019. Wow. I mean,
Waited until the right time after the pandemic to do it proper, and it has been.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, as things were coming back, it was uncertain. Some states were doing stuff, some states weren't doing stuff. It took a little bit of time to come back, but it feels like things are really back into full swing. You hit it right at the right time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just awesome.
It's great.
You know, when you're on stage, do you become a different person on stage, or are you a different person off stage, or is there Dr. Fresh on stage and Tony off stage?
Yeah, I'd say, well, you know, to me, it's not so much of a persona. It's like an attitude. I'm definitely the same guy that is in his bedroom dancing to dance music behind the decks. Like Darran, I would say that Tony is Dr. Fresh, but I get into this state, and it's it's that dream-like state where, you know, you're doing your favorite thing, and that's how I explain it. It's like if you've ever played sports, you know, it's like you're in the game, and, you know, a whole quarter will go by like that. And
I was in the store the other day shopping for our rooftop party tomorrow, and Michael Jackson, old school Michael Jackson, comes on, like pre off the wall, and I just start dancing in the aisle, and I make a little video of it, and I throw it up online, and I like, if you know the lyrics of this song, dance along with me. You can barely hear them, but I'm just like, when you dance, you got to move, and you're in that zone. You're in the zone.
You are,
man. Do you prefer? Now you play large scale festivals. You play kind of intimate, smaller clubs. Do you have a preference, or is there a different energy that you feel when you're at either or? Like, I mean,
totally. It's
I hear a lot about this word connection. You know?
That would be probably the most direct way to talk about it. It's being in proximity to the fans is the first thing, and, you know, that's kind of people's biggest gripe with big festivals. Because of the production, they have to be 40, 50, 60 feet away. And a club like Q is awesome because you can literally reach out and touch the Seattleites or Seattleans, you know, like, you're right there in it. And I think this is a great example of that. And a lot of what I've been trying to do on the tour with the smaller venues, trying to bring the stage to the booth to the dance floor.
Yes. Tell us about that booth to the dance floor. How's that been working out?
Man, I take inspiration from a lot of the great parties out there in the last 10, 20 years that have done this. Boiler Room, Def Atlanta that I most recently played. The 360 immersive experience is becoming popular for a lot of reasons, but I think one of them is because social media is showing us through the lens just how much more fun that is. And in a way, it's like, it brings you back to that connection, right? At the end of the day, you know, that's what the dance community is about fundamentally. And the good thing that our phones can lead us to is creating cooler environments. Let's embrace the positive things that our phones bring us to. I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, if you could create your dream event, name 5 things that would be a must-have at that event. You would want to have Black American Express card.
Cool.
There's no limit on the budget. 5 things you'd want.
I would say we're talking about a festival here. For me, it would be a small, perhaps camping festival, if not, you know, out in the wilderness. So nature is important, number one. Whether it's a forest or a desert, some sort of environment like that. So that's number one. Number 2 is having that, what we just talked about, the connected environment, whether it's a 360 stage or an immersive stage. The third one is I'd love to have the record label crew there, man. Like, have that be a big part of it. The fourth one off the wall. I'd love to have a stage that has nothing to do with what we do. Like, for instance, like a left field bass stage. Man, have like Deep, Dark, and Dangerous hacks. Something like this. Alex Perez, EPROM. And then the fifth would be I love to have some immersive art there, whether that's like, could be something like, live painting or live fire dancing. One of my favorite sets ever, I saw Tipper and Android Jones. Tipper was DJing, Android Jones was painting. Burning Man expose, very cool event. And
we used to have live art at our rooftop parties a few years back in 18, 19, and it was a hit. I mean, people just love the fact, and the artist is there, they're grooving with the music, they're painting something right there off the top of their head. And it was just really awesome to combine that artwork music experience for our fans and people there. Speaking of fans, what's the sweetest thing a fan has ever made for you?
Oh my God. I gotta say, it's truly a painting of me that I now have in my mom's house. And it is a painting of me from when I performed in Victoria, British Columbia about 5 years ago. And it's just this kind of pose of me where I'm wearing track pants and a shirt that she has edited to... it's a lowrider. It's like a 6'4" Impala instead of whatever I had on there. So it's just kind of like nod to the West Coast hip hop scene. It's really cute. Yeah.
Nice.
That was incredible.
Changing gears here just a little bit. Tell us about Bricks.
Oh my God. Okay. So we just dropped a song today, Darren. It's called Bricks.
I know.
Mid-tempo, G-house, electro, hybrid. This one's fun. I went for my kind of core sound, but I sampled, I took inspiration from the funk scene, this kind of Russia popularized this scene that really is just Memphis hip hop. It's like, it's straight up DJ Paul, 3-6 Mafia, cowbell sampling. That's what funk is. So I just kind of like threw that on a little bit, like a pinch of that into what I'm doing. And that's the track I dropped today. So I'm excited to play for you all.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Ever since, like I said, when I was sitting on the couch, literally I was no setup. Feedback was on my phone. The last song on my phone, if I fell in love with Feedback, I know I'm going to fall in love with this. And I know the audience is going to fall in love with it. The city's going to fall in love with it. Q's going to fall in love with it. Everyone probably on the tour is falling in love with it. That's awesome. But where's the weirdest moment you've ever heard one of your tracks play?
Oh my God. Great question. I'll say most recently, I was in Mexico a year ago with Rachel and we were traveling around. I was doing a spring break event in Puerto Vallarta. So we went down to Sayulita before and we were walking down the streets of Sayulita and it wasn't at a bar. It was out of the back of a golf cart. Somebody was carrying just like a ghetto blaster and they were bumping Feedback.
Nice.
And they had the aux hooked up and I walked up. It was clear. It became clear right away that it was like a wedding party. And they were like, oh my God, it's Dr. Fresh. And they looked at their phone and they're like, we host one of the camps at Panky Rang camp at Electric Forest. So I would say that, that was probably the craziest coincidence I've ever met somebody.
Awesome.
They were playing my music.
Who's been the biggest influence when it comes to your career and why?
Oh man. Ooh, one person single-handedly?
One person, gotta pick them.
Oh my
biggest
God.
influence.
It's a great question. I'll bring it back to initially Steve Aoki and Dimmock Records is what led me to move to LA. I ended up interning for him. And that label model and the party model is what inspired me in every way to build the structure for House Call and what I do, And at the core, when Steve was doing more the electro blog house thing, that was the sound that I was going for too. As things progressed, he's doing everything from big room to hip hop, love, and what he did with the project's amazing. The beginning of Dimmock and the beginning of House Call, I tried to model my label after what he did. And what I do is Dr. Fresh after how he started Steve Aoki. So in a way, that would probably be the biggest tip of the hat. It was my first gig in LA too. I'm driving the Dimmock van around Hollywood in 2010. I was the guy behind the wheel,
Nice.
So I would say that those are my formative years. Biggest inspiration there.
Okay. 2 letters. VR. Have you thought about doing anything in VR? Have you done anything in VR? Are you developing anything in VR? What's your take on VR?
I've never developed anything in VR, but I have great example of this is over the pandemic, guys like Cyboy, who was doing a lot of my art at the beginning of House Call before he became a full-time techno DJ again. Cyboy was trying to get me to do exactly this, and a lot of AR too. So just like not even just DJing in virtual reality. I myself haven't done anything with like a virtual reality mask per se, other than DJ in the metaverse through oh my god, now I'm spacing on the I've done a couple different festivals, and one of them was in tandem with oh geez, Darran,
Don't worry about it, man. You're a busy guy. You're a busy
I've been
guy.
living in 3D, man.
Exactly. No, I bring it up because we just launched our first VR nightclub in VR chat.
Tell me all about it.
And so we call the club Beta Nightclub, and we had it in alt space, but unfortunately Microsoft dropped alt space like a bad hat. I was like, we're getting ready to launch, and boom. So we had to quickly migrate over to VR chat. We're super excited. Our world just got approved. It's gaining momentum. We're getting ready to put our schedule up. We'd love to have you come by, check it out. I'd love to just give you a tour sometime.
Absolutely.
And check it out. But we call it beta because it isn't version 1 yet.
I love it.
And then we're going to have version 2, because we look at VR as that people are going to have to acclimate to it. So some people have said, why do you have pillars in your VR nightclub? There's no gravity. So what's it holding up? And I'm like, well, okay, you got to remember, people are coming into this for the first time. So we still keep the ceiling, the floor, the pillar, like you're walking around in a regular room until they get advanced so they can start flying. I was in Second Life back in the day.
Oh, wow. So you're an OG.
Yeah, you could like fly and you fly through the brims and you do all this crazy stuff. And
oh, my God.
People thought it was a video game, and you got to change that mindset of it's not a video game, it's a virtual world. And these virtual worlds are holding concert shows. I mean, you've heard what Marshmello and Travis Scott and all them did on Fortnite, and
that's incredible.
12 million people or whatever. And it's like, okay. So we just see that. We always like to be a forerunner to the new technology, just like live streaming. We jumped on board and started using that and doing a DJ show. So we see VR being the next thing, but AR is a huge one too.
Totally.
And I have a strategic partnership that I'm working on with a company that should go through. I don't know if you've heard about them yet, called Unity.
Tell me.
UNITEA.
Okay.
And like they got Claude Van Stroke on board.
Okay,
What they do is you go around and you use this app, and you kind of, Lee's Unity team, do not murder me if I describe this wrong, but basically you go around and you do stuff, and you use like Shaq has an AR thing, and you use that, you make it, but you can only get the AR inside of the Unity app, and then you share that, then you get karma points, then you can cash your karma points in for like backstage passes or meet and greets or shirts or merchandise and things like that. They're developing in a few cities, and we're proud to announce we should hopefully be doing something here in Seattle with it as well, with our events and getting that karma points going with special DJ AR stuff. And
you guys are ahead of the curve. I'm excited to jump into the well, I can't even say 2D space, but it's going to be sick.
Yeah, AR, VR, XR, it's all going to be there. And if you're not involved in it, get involved in it now.
Don't sleep.
Don't sleep. All right. Well, we're going to get to this exclusive mix in the back of the DJ Sessions mobile studio. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know about before we let you go?
You know, thankful to be back here in Seattle after a few years. I will see you tonight, Q Nightclub. Thanks for the love everywhere on Rave's Anatomy. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.
Darran, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Where can people find out more information about you?
Everything on every socials is DRFRESCH. That's / Dr. Fresh everywhere. Thank you all.
Everywhere. Right on. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on the show. Don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, everywhere. The Metaverse, The DJ Sessions. But if you go to our website, thedjsessions.com, you'll find it all right there. 600 news stories, exclusive mixes, interviews with guys like this, and more fun stuff. And our event series coming up soon, and contests, giveaways, memberships. It's all there at thedjsessions.com. This is Dr. Fresh, and I'm Darran, coming to you from the back of the Mobile Sessions studios in Seattle, Washington. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.
Let's get back to the Sherpa.
Sorry about that.
Thanks so much for listening, and thank you so much to Mr. Darran Bruce. Be sure to catch the DJ Sessions wherever you listen to podcasts and you want to hear some great music. We will be featuring Sherpa Selects on Saturday, as we normally do. Will it be a person who has a podcast? I don't know. We'll have to see what's next on the list, and you'll have to tune in too. You can follow us on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and I think Threads also. The Facebook page will be going away soon, as will the Blue Sky page. So if you're following me there, say goodbye. I'm leaving. People are hiding anyway. So we're going to be going to where people want to check out our goofy videos. We will be back next week, of course. And we'll see what kind of surprises we have in store for then. But until then, I say to you, Viva la Sherpalution. Hey, what do you mean I have to leave the club? I just got here. I just got here.
Thanks for listening to the Sherpa's Podcast Picks. The podcast is now over. Please disperse and tell everyone about us. As long as they don't put us back in jail. Viva la Sherpalution!